But let's take a look at our players on the stage. Again, let's run down these accomplishments as NTC called him 0EL1TE0, the California King.
Yeah, we have the Los Angeles Regionals top 4, Sacramento Regional Champion, Fresno Regional Champion, and also in San Diego, California in that top 16. We saw the team a little bit earlier, but let's go ahead and see it again. Shadow Machamp making waves, just punching its way through this meta. Elite, one of the very few trainers to use that Pokemon, but he's been using it so well.
I've heard a few people actually backstage saying that Mandibuzz was expected to be a big impact player, but people are kind of jokingly call it Manda fraud, right? Like it's not that good, but it's here in the grand finals, Amanda. And on the other side, we've got wdage from the loser side of the bracket, your 2024 Pittsburgh Regional Champion, your NAIC 2023 Champion, Hartford Champion, as well as the NAIC Senior Division Champ back in 2022.
Not only that, in the 2023 Pokemon Go Championship Series in Japan, wdage took the bronze medal overall, which means that he is definitely a trainer that everyone has been looking out for. And if anyone is going to be able to take this game away from Elite, it's going to be him.
Exactly right. All right, everybody, we need to hear some cheers in the crowd. This is Elite versus wdage, Grand Finals, Baltimore 2025. We're underway.
Let's jump right into it. Here we got the Feraligatr against a Clodsire in the lead. Really great matchup for Elite at this stage, and it kind of puts wdage on the back foot, coming in with the Dunsparce, and it's a pretty decent answer, but it doesn't want to take too many Hydro Cannons.
I think all this is about positioning. If you're Elite, you know that the Shadow Feraligatr has the best possible matchup against the Clodsire that you just saw, but you need to maneuver around this Dunsparce in the meantime, and we see him chip with the Hydro Cannon and switch to Cresselia.
I like this play a lot. It's called a chip and dip, but that is a pretty big chip, more like a cavern here against that Dunsparce. And now Dunsparce is going to be up against Cresselia, one of the bulkiest Pokemon. This drill run will connect. Great timing by wdage, but it is not even going to knock the Cresselia, I think, even into the yellow. At this stage, Cresselia just still has a lot of bulk to its name, barely in the yellow. I take it back.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, the Moonblast is going to do a lot of damage. It might just barely be enough to KO the Dunsparce at this point. Cresselia not known for its attack stat, but Moonblast does get the job done. Switching in with the Clodsire now. Here comes wdage.
Clodsire coming back in here, but those Grass Knots is not something it necessarily wants to take. I like this play by wdage. Just charging up a ton of energy. We also want to make note of the charge attacks on the Clodsire here, because that is going to be important. Earthquakes are going to be doing a nice amount of damage, but Sludge Bombs are going to be a nice bait. Going straight for the heavier hitting attack. This should be enough to knock Cresselia out, and there's no Protect Shield from Elite side.
Yeah, I really like this play a lot. Earthquake does seal the knockout there. Now it's Feraligatr versus the Chestnut. Counter swap into the Shadow Drapion. You can see wdage kind of clutching his forehead, but at the same time, there's still 4 Protect Shields in play.
There's a lot of play left, and I think, yeah, if you're wdage, you let that first one go through, because as we've seen time and time again in Baltimore, there's a potential for a defense drop. It's there, right there. Defense just fell, forcing wdage to kind of make a Hail Mary play. This superpower is going to be doing way more damage to the Drapion, but it's going to lower his own defense as well. Look how low that gets him. He has another one already stored. Gonna go ahead and throw it at the very last second.
Throws the superpowers here. This is absolutely going to pick up the knockout onto the Shadow Drapion, but this Chestnut has not put in nearly as much work as it needed to. There is still a Shadow Feraligatr in the back. It gets the Shadow Claw down, and now the Clodsire is squared up against the Shadow Feraligatr.
Right back to where we started. Everything is going full circle here as the Feraligatr is now up against the Clodsire, just like it was in the beginning. But this is wdage's only Pokemon left, and this is where their shields are definitely going to be needed. There is energy, but will there be enough health at this range? A Hydro Cannon should be enough to knock out. Elite knows it, wants to protect up this Feraligatr, make sure it stays nice and healthy and full of energy.
There's always a question of pacing, right? The Clodsire are just a little bit slower than the Shadow Feraligatr, but there aren't very many Pokemon faster than Feraligatr in the current Great League meta. Fires off the second Hydro Cannon. There goes the second Protect Shield as well. It's 3 away for the third Hydro Cannon. Here comes Elite.
Elite coming through here. Hydro Cannon washing away the Clodsire. No Protect Shields remaining. Looks like this Clodsire is going to go down, and Elite is going to take game number 1.
The Elite able to quell the Clodsire with a Hydro Cannon armada deployed here on stage in Baltimore. That Shadow Feraligatr, I'm telling you, everyone uses it, but no one plays it like Elite.
there is we were kind of joking around earlier when we were doing our Pokemon MVP picks, and we were saying, oh, maybe we should say Elite and Shadow Feraligatr, but Feraligatr has been used by so many people. You make an excellent point, Will. Though it is one of the top used Pokemon in this regional competition, Elite has just been masterfully using it better than anyone.
Our trainers are getting locked in pretty rapidly, but we're going to take just a quick moment to look back at the highlights in our Grand Finals best-of-5 set. And this Shadow Drapion put in a lot of work. It really neutralized the Chestnut, and that was the story of game number 1. But game number 2 is underway. We've got the water types on the field, Amanda.
A great adaptation by wdage here. Azumarill is going to more comfortably tank all of these Hydro Cannons or Ice Beams that would be thrown at it. But the thing is, Azumarill paces quite slowly, and both of these trainers know it. Elite knows exactly how he wants to play out this matchup, letting this one go through, and I think that we're going to see a shield at some point, or maybe a quick kind of cheeky swap.
Yeah, exactly right. We're going to see a single Shadow Claw into a Hydro Cannon conversion here, avoiding a potential play rough from wdage's Azumarill because the bubble just takes one turn longer. Now at this juncture, this Feraligatr is going to switch out, and Cresselia will soak this damage.
This Cresselia doesn't have Future Sight, but I'm thinking I might, because I called the swap narrowly here on the play rough here, and Cresselia just continuing to farm away energy. wdage swapping into his own Alolan Sandslash, and this was something that we saw earlier on. None of the charge attacks from the Cresselia really do that much damage to the Alolan Sandslash.
Yeah, we saw this in the Elam versus wdage matchup. The Cresselia for Elam just had no play into the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. wdage looking to replicate that strategy here, but this Cresselia is frustratingly bulky. You cannot KO it with a single drill run.
I think if you're wdage, this is exactly where you want the Alolan Sandslash, because if he has any flashbacks of game and matches against Elite earlier on, that Shadow Machamp just was a menace for him, and the Alolan Sandslash wants absolutely nothing to do with it here. More than content to be able to take the charge attacks from Cresselia, do a lot of damage, and just be able to just continue to farm away. I think we're going to see, yes, exactly, charge attack priority, wonderfully played by wdage here, knocking out the Cresselia if Elite doesn't use a shield.
Exactly right. Ice Punch is more than enough, but great counting and late game awareness by wdage to find the charge attack party. In comes a Machamp. wdage also gets off the Ice Punch. This is absolutely massive.
This is shadow on shadow damage, and though this is not going to be that effective, look how much damage it does to a Shadow Machamp.
In comes Cresselia. We see the counter swap into the Feraligatr. At this point, wdage has made up a lot of ground. He's quelled a ton of threats, and now the Feraligatr has to apply some Hydro Cannon pressure to the Cresselia.
That Cresselia is forced to use a shield at some point. Hydro Cannon is coming through, and that Feraligatr is just too darn healthy at this point. Grass Knot coming through right before the next Hydro Cannon is ready, getting a shield from Elite's side, and you can see Elite kind of like, you know, taking a deep breath at this moment. This is getting very intense for both trainers here, that neither one of them can afford to make mistakes here in the Grand Finals. Both of them want to be able to take home this title.
Yeah, you have to be completely locked in, because one miscount, 1 second, 1/2 second miscalculation can lead to a catastrophic loss in the Grand Finals. wdage firing the Grass Knot. Elite has to respect it. He cannot allow his MVP Pokemon to go down.
And now swapping into the Azumarill at the same time. My goodness, both of these trainers just completely using Elite. Not quite sure. He wasn't ready for an undercharge even by wdage, but it is definitely enough to take out the Machamp. Now the Feraligatr comes in, but is this just an opportunity to get too much energy? A Hydro Cannon is loaded. 2 Hydro Cannons loaded, throwing at the Azumarill here. I think that Elite has so much energy. Will a Hydro Cannon be enough on the Cresselia is the real question.
That's the real question. We're about to get our answer. In comes Cresselia. It's pretty healthy. Meanwhile, Elite, he's going to build to the double Hydro Cannons. Both barrels are loaded.
We have Hydro Cannon number 1 coming through. If that's not enough, I think we got another one right behind it. The Cresselia is still 1 away from the Grass Knot. It's not quite enough. He's able to hit it, but it's charge attack priority.
Incredible counting, late game awareness. Elite is locked in, dialed in, and he washes that Cresselia off the stage in game number 2.
Game number 2 is for Elite of this best of 5. Elite just needs one more win to be calling himself not only the California King, but also the Baron of Baltimore here. He is so locked in at this point. He is the only person that's been able to beat wdage in this entire series, sitting pretty on that winner's side of the bracket. But wdage is one of the most well-known, well-accoladed trainers we have in Pokemon Go. Everyone, We're ready.
I can't believe it.
The games are already being locked in. Let's get these replays off the screen. Let's get game number 3 up and ready.
This is game number 3. Our trainers locked in lightning quick. We see the Shadow Machamp counter swap and lightning quick answer. Here comes Clodsire.
Clodsire to answer the Machamp, one of the best actual answers to it, and the #1 used Pokemon in this meta, which makes it all that more impressive for the Shadow Machamp to have such a good run. The thing is, even though it's so squishy, even though those cross chops don't do that much, watch them slowly add up over time. The karate chops generate energy so quickly, already a second one ready to go.
I mean, you couldn't have said it better, Amanda. 12% at a time really adds up over time. We're going to see a Sludge Bomb fired off here by the Clodsire from wdage. This would likely KO that Shadow Machamp, and Elite wants to keep it in the matchup, so he does use his first Protect Shield of the game.
Karate Chop is ready. A very interesting strategy by Elite. If he doesn't want his Shadow Machamp to go down, he's going to have to use both shields here, but he's got a lot of energy to spare. Already 2 shields down. There's 2 shields on wdage's side. If you're him, you're thinking, I might be pretty comfortable in this scenario. But again, look at this. Look how low that Clodsire is getting, and still look, there's another cross chop loaded on this Machamp.
wdage looks up. He says, I have a 2-0 shield advantage right now, and Elite looks cornered. I think I might have a chance in this game, but he's going to go ahead and shield up this cross chop, not allowing this Shadow Machamp to KO his Clodsire. He wants alignment. He wants control of this game number 3.
Not only that, I think if you're Elite, you're saying, okay, well, this was a great play. Undercharge speed,
Wow.
get it a little bit lower, but I'm just thinking that this Feraligatr is going to go ahead and get a plow and go to Farm Town here, because it's going to be able to get almost the perfect amount of farm. Lucky for wdage there, that undercharge allowed him to be able to get a little more energy to be able to throw this Sludge Bomb off at the Feraligatr before going down.
Yeah, absolutely wild undercharge there. Elite, I don't know if he's thrown an Ice Beam all series long, all weekend long. He baits again with the Hydro Cannon against the Chestnut. The question is, can he get to another charge attack regardless?
Immediate swap out into the Cresselia, one of the bulkiest Pokemon, though there are no Protect Shields left on Elite's side. Cresselia says, okay, I'll pick up the role. I'll be your 3rd and 4th shield in this as Frenzy Plant going through. Cresselia still in the green, now met by wdage's own Cresselia. And honestly, I think wdage is sitting very pretty in this. Very interesting to see how both of these trainers want to play it out. But it looks like if wdage, he's very excited about having his driver's license. I think he's in the driver's seat.
I'm a little bit surprised that wdage didn't gather a little more energy on the Chestnut as well. He knows the Feraligator's only a couple Shadow Claws away from the Ice Beam. You want to build in as many insurance plans as you can. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. And right now, he just immediately committed to the Cresselia, and the switch timers are a little bit misaligned. So after this Moonblast, I do think a swap, a catch, is available.
It looks like the next Moonblast will be able to connect because the timer is not quite up yet for wdage. However, it is up for Elite. Like you said, they are misaligned, but with this much energy, do you really want to be able to go down? William calling it here, also with the Future Sight. Moonblast coming through, knocking out the Feraligatr, and now it is a Cresselia against basically a fully loaded Cresselia here, and a Chestnut in the back, going for yet another Moonblast. At charge attack priority, going for that Grass Knot, because like Elam earlier, recognizing he's going to need 2 at this point to knock it out.
It was such a good attempt, but as you see, the Moonblast is already queued up for wdage as well. You saw the laugh and the head shake. He says, you know, that was an incredible play, but it's not going to be enough to beat me. That means that wdage takes his first game of the Grand Finals and tries to fight his way back into the series.
Just like Nighttime Clasher says, we are new levels of back. I think wdage is at this point as well. Not content to be knocked out of this tournament, doesn't want to get 3-0'd in the Grand Finals, saying, if you want to win this, you're going to have to go through me. I'm putting in the work. I am ready for this competition. Elite, if you're Elite and you're in this point, you can take a few more risks, right? You're sitting on the in the Grand Finals. You're on the winner's side of the bracket. That means even if he loses this best of 5, wdage still has to beat him in yet another best of 5 to be able to become the regional champion. Meanwhile, Elite is just 1 game away. This was what it was like in the winner's finals. Will he be able to pull it through in the Grand Finals here? We have the Cresselia against the Dunsparce in the lead.
Game 4 is underway. Elite is only 1 matchup away from becoming the Baltimore regional champion. And like you said, Amanda, wdage has a much longer road to go, but he has to start somewhere. That place is with Dunsparce Dunsparce in the lead versus Cresselia.
Drill Run coming through here onto the Cresselia, and now we see an aggressive swap out into the Clodsire to be met with the Feraligatr. An interesting play by wdage because, again, we've been talking about Elite's Feraligatr play so often. He had to know that this would be the Pokemon that would come in response, perhaps doing some sort of calculation in his head, thinking, if I can get this Feraligatr out of the way or maybe potentially farm down, I'm going to have a really good time in the back.
No, absolutely, and I think that wdage wants this Feraligatr gone as quickly as possible. It's been such a menace for him all series long. He's going to fire off the Hydro Cannon there. Elite looking for the double Hydro Cannon, actually going to allow the Sludge Bomb to come through here. No Protect Shield is a definite knockout.
Knocking out the Feraligatr, giving a little bit of farm for whatever comes in. Looks like it's going to be that Machamp. I think we might see an aggressive karate chop down, just chopping away at the health and defense of this Clodsire. Clodsire being able to get a Sludge Bomb, but Elite has so many shields, a lot of health left on this Machamp, and we're about to see all of this energy come into fruition.
Absolutely mind-boggling farm down there. I don't know how he was able to achieve that, but in comes the Cresselia. Gonna wait a turn, go for the bait, pull the shield from wdage. wdage has been very, very generous with his shields as this series has progressed, and this one might have him a little rattled.
The games are going on not only on the field, but in the mind, going for a bait, now going for that heavier hitting attack, getting both shields, stripping them away from wdage here, as this Stone Edge would do a lot of damage, but it is shielded up in the meantime. Moonblast is going through, going for that Grass Knot bait instead. Elite using his last shield as well, because that Moonblast would have knocked him out. Grass Knot, actually, to be fair, would probably come pretty close to knocking it out anyway, and Elite wants to be able to at least get to the Stone Edge as a parting gift. Will he be able to do so? Going one over even before throwing. We're about to see how much damage this does on an unprotected Cresselia.
Yeah, this is a wild attack stat. Shadow Machamp absolutely pummeling Cresselia. The attempted combo play, the switch, the catch. Here comes Dunsparce, and it absorbs the Grass Knot to keep wdage's Cresselia in this game.
Cresselia is alive, it's healthy, it has a lot of attack power still left in it here. Meanwhile, Dunsparce being able to just do its job, getting a little bit more and going for yet another Grass Knot. And now there's so much energy on the Dunsparce. It looks like we're going to probably throw another rollout before going for a charge attack here of the Drill Run.
Yeah, exactly right. Drill Run doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but Dunsparce is known for this kind of grounding and pounding through matchups. Drill Run after Drill Run, an avalanche of rollouts. We're going to see a Grass Knot come out from the Cresselia, wanting to prevent any more of that damage from coming through. I think Elite wants his Cresselia outside of Moonblast range, so he needs to preserve as much health as possible, and he's able to pick up the knockout onto the Dunsparce.
Down goes the Dunsparce. If wdage is counting, he knows he's quite a bit away from another Grass Knot, but wdage is at 100% energy on this Cresselia. The real question he has is this enough to knock out, and how much is left on the Shadow Chip? Not quite able to do it. This though, there is no Protect Shields remaining. One away from a Grass Knot, throwing it now. It looks like wdage has taken this game, going ahead, tying up the series once again. We are going to a decisive game number 5.
Absolutely correct. Shadow Machamp cannot stand up to Cresselia, and we didn't even mention it. We've been moving so fast, we did not even mention it. These 2 games that wdage has taken from Elite are the first 2 games he's lost in the Grand Finals in 3 years.
That's absolutely true. You mentioned this earlier on. I believe you said this. Once Elite gets into the Grand Finals, the man just does not lose. wdage, coming out of retirement, has taken these 2 games right when Elite was so close to victory that he could basically taste it just 1 game away. wdage says, I'm going to still make you fight for it here. And again, we've said it before, you kind of love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Elite almost looked like he was going to do it again. He was up 2-0, and wdage has fought back. Amanda, you said this is a decisive game number 5. If Elite wins this game, he is your Baltimore Regional Champion. However, if wdage takes this game 5, he forces the bracket reset and a fresh set of 5 games.
And, I mean, if you are loving Pokemon Go, if you are loving to see this, you're probably cheering for wdage in this. Let us know in the chat. Who do you think is going to win this? Is Elite going to be able to take this game, or is wdage going to be able to steal it away? And we are going to a bracket reset. We're already in this decisive game number 5. We got to drop in up against that Dunsparce, going for that crunch, for a potential of a debuff, and also just some nice heavy hitting damage to start out the game.
I definitely give a matchup edge to the Dunsparce here. Just going to land a super effective Drill Run if it connects.
Or will it?
But Elite able to throw 1 Poison Sting, then swap in the Cresselia. wdage isn't phased though. He says, I know exactly what to do here. He's going to go ahead and stay in a little while longer, gather some additional energy energy on the Dunsparce, maybe throw another charge attack, and then make the switch. Here comes Clodsire.
Yeah, the big thing that happened is that because there was a defensive drop, those Psycho Cuts still don't do that much damage to the Dunsparce. wdage felt comfortable to stay in that matchup and just swap out before the charge attack was ready because he didn't want to take any of that additional damage while still getting a lot of extra energy. Clodsire is one of the Pokemon that's great to absorb the energy from that Cresselia, and now is able to throw an Earthquake, which is a heavier hitting attack. Cresselia still no shield on Elite side.
Like you said before, Amanda, sometimes you need a second, third, fourth shield. Pokemon like Clodsire can give that to you. I want to talk about a team composition adjustment as well. Elite went with the Shadow Drapion for the first time in this series because of the Cresselia. It's beating his Shadow Machamp, it's beating his Feraligatr. He needs to stop it, and he's got to find the alignment to do so.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about Pokemon that are being used as shields or sponges, I mean, wdage has two of them on his side, right? He's using that Clodsire, he's using that Cresselia. Drapion is a great way to try to at least negate some of the energy that is coming off of either of them. Masterful play there by wdage, waiting, making sure that a Pokemon that coming in could be able to have a target for this, forcing a shield from Elite because that Earthquake would have been enabled to enough knockout the Drapion, but in comes the Dunsparce, and he gets a shield of his own in return.
That's so clever because Elite thought he was catching a Sludge Bomb, thought twice about it, and uses the correct shield with wdage predicting the switch in as well. I'm telling you, these two players on the screen are on a completely different level. We've seen Aqua Tail get fired up by the Drapion, forcing that final shield from wdage.
Yeah, wdage shielding up this Aqua Tail because he has so much energy, and that would have been enough to knock out. Going for the Drill Run here. There is a Protect Shield left remaining on Elite side. It looks like he's comfortable to let this go down, and it looks like all the bubbles have been tapped. It is enough to take it out at this stage. The Dunsparce still has so much energy, going for yet another Drill Run.
Going for the Drill Run here into the Cresselia. Elite choosing not to Protect Shield. He needed to empty the stored energy on the Dunsparce. Now he's got his Shadow Feraligatr, his MVP Pokemon. He's got one Protect Shield, and this Shadow Feraligatr needs to put in some work.
It's going to be able to have a Drill Run. Will it be able to take it? He's only got one shield remaining, forced to use it now. These Shadow Claws are not going to do too much, but the wdage doesn't even want to give him a chance, saying, okay, can you outpace me here? These Shadow Claws will do a lot. These Hydro Cannons will do even more, but this Hydro Cannon is not enough to take out the Cresselia, and Cresselia is at a Grass Knot, everyone.
Super effective Grass Knot on Cresselia. It absorbs a Hydro Cannon, no problem. It loses the charge attack priority, but gets its charge attack all the same here at the end. Grass Knot going to come through. Water type Shadow Feraligatr cannot take the pressure. It hangs on just barely. One more Hydro Cannon from Elite.
Hydro Cannon coming through. I'm not even sure if this is enough to knock out Cresselia at this point, but there's just so little health remaining on the Feraligatr, not able to hold on. wdage taking game number 5, and we are going into a bracket reset.
Bracket reset. After going down 0-2, wdage is fighting his way back into this series and in this tournament. He has a fighting chance now to take the Baltimore title, and Elite is facing a problem that he has not had to face all weekend long. He says, hey, I'm losing battles. I'm losing ground. I need to respond.
I think we also need to just highlight the fact that wdage went ahead and reverse swept in the grand finals, meaning that Elite was ahead 2-0. All Elite needed to do was win one more game to be able to be called the champion, and wdage just completely outplayed him in those last 3 rounds, sweeping the bracket out from under his rug, and now it is 0-0 here. We are wiping out the slates here, but we are getting right into the next rounds. These battlers are ready to play, and we are ready to watch. We have fighter on fighter damage, Machamp versus Chestnut.
Yeah, I hope you didn't go anywhere because the battles are back on. This is our grand finals reset. Fresh best of 5. Game number 1, Shadow Machamp versus Chestnut. We see the first cross chop get fired off here as we saw backstage, Amanda. 2 cross chops will definitely get the job done.
I wasn't sure about it before, but I think that we saw that it will definitely be enough at this point. Going for a superpower, which is an interesting play. We'll be able to reach the next one a little bit quicker as it paces slightly quicker than the Frenzy Plant does, but it gets the shield from Elite regardless, and the cross chop is already being loaded right as the superpower is being thrown. Great timing by Elite here. Will wdage want to use his shield because he knows that he's at the move as well? He's gonna let it go.
That's an interesting call, right? He does have the Shadow Load and Sand Slash in the back, so he really couldn't afford to switch in, but he opts to take that Protect Shield advantage. In comes a Cresselia. Elite wants that Sand Slash, and here it is.
Yeah, I think Elite says, okay, I know it's probably in the back. I'm going to draw it out at some point. Machamp still has a lot of health left to it, some energy. I think wdage's plan is he has to come out of this matchup with stored energy to be able to throw at the Machamp that is in the back. He wants to be able to at least get another shield or get that Pokemon off the field.
I think you pointed out something so important, Amanda. I mean, this is the matchup we see on our screen, but wdage is already thinking one step ahead, already thinking to the next matchup, and I absolutely agree. But he's got to get through Cresselia first. He can't be distracted. Here comes the drill run. This is not going to be enough to KO, obviously, but the question is, will an Ice Punch or a drill run be needed afterwards? I think it might even be both.
Yeah, at this point, wdage is trying everything in his book to be able to get this Cresselia out of the way while still maintaining a little bit of energy and not enough health for that Machamp to be able to get too much of a farm. I think he's kind of playing into Elite's hands, though, however, because it looks like Elite is at an attack. Will he be able to knock it out at this range? I don't think the Grass Knot will be enough, but definitely a karate chop from Machamp coming in should be.
Oh my gosh, the simultaneous counter swap. Here comes Feraligatr trying to snipe away the Sand Slash, and the swap with the Clodsire trying to do the same to Cresselia. We're going to see a Hydro Cannon get fired off here. wdage does have a Protect Shield advantage, but he knows he's under tremendous pressure. Feraligatr has a very commanding position in this matchup.
Yeah, not only does he have a shield advantage, he also has an energy advantage on that Clodsire. And now there are no Protect Shields on Elite's side. It's going to be a race, but the Earthquake is going to be ready beforehand because the wdage saved so much energy before. This is a shadow for Alligator. Will this be enough damage to knock it out, or will Elite be able to get to the next Hydro Cannon?
Same type attack bonus. Earthquake, not enough. Shadow for Alligator, able to get this final Hydro Cannon. In terms of relative damage, this would do the most by far. So wdage is going to use his final Protect Shield on that Hydro Cannon.
Machamp is coming in. Machamp has a lot of stored energy, but there is not going to be too much left overall. There is still a sliver of health on the Cresselia that wdage needs to be careful for a potential catch, but if he is able to land this Sludge Bomb onto the Machamp, he's going to have a nice time. Oh, interesting play. I think that both of them were expecting a swap here, but wdage coming straight back in, coming for that Sludge Bomb, and it looks like he has won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, that's almost a situation where you would have seen Elite tap immediately on the Cresselia to send it out and sacrifice it to that charge attack, but he did not have the reaction time there. wdage coming right in, like you said, Amanda, pouncing on that Machamp with the Sludge Bomb from the Clodsire.
Listen, he's thanked his mom for letting him borrow the car. He's thanked the model of the car itself. wdage is clearly in the driver's seat at the moment. He wants to maintain his record as being the first regional champion of this championship series. He was able to do it in 2024. Will he be able to do it again in 2025?
I mean, wdage's demeanor is just completely different from Elite. I think wdage is like, hey, I'm just going to play good, and if good things happen, then good things happen. Meanwhile, Elite is experiencing something he has not ever experienced in the Grand Finals. I mean, he's really losing his grip on this series, and he needs a Game 1 desperately to get back into it.
I mean, we've seen it a lot of times before. The momentum has shifted, right? The Elite was going in very confident. He had beaten wdage earlier on in the championship series, and he was looking to do it again, but the pendulum shifted in the other direction. wdage now looks like he is more in control, and it is time for Elite to take a step back and see, what can I do to get back into this series? We're hopping into game number 2 of the Grand Finals reset, this best-of-5 matchup, and we have a Cresselia against a Chestnut.
Yeah, I'd argue we finally have a semi-positive lead here for Elite in this series, but the Frenzy Plants are still going to pack a tremendous punch, and the Moonblast needs to connect for Cresselia to win this matchup overall. Frenzy Plant does chip down the Cresselia, about half health. Then we see the counter swap into the Clodsire. Same met by the Shadow for Alligator, just like in Game 1.
Game 1 was a good indication, but at this point as well, I think if you're Elite, you're like, okay, saw the Chestnut. Clodsire is definitely my Feraligatr, swap. So if even if he's trying to draw out the Feraligatr, well, you got it, because this is exactly where I want to be. Hydro Cannons loaded, 2 of them already ready before the next Sludge Bomb will be available. If Elite has been counting, which you know that he has, you might see the next one going through almost immediately.
This is the reason why 8 out of our top 8 winner's side teams have Clodsire, because it's such a bulky monster. It could probably absorb this Hydro Cannon if wdage really wanted it to, but he's going to go ahead and use his final Protect Shield of the game on it to keep it in the battle. He's going to look for the big poison sting down. He's able to get it. Yes, he is.
Able to get it and basically come out with 100 energy here to be able to throw at this Cresselia. Again, we saw how much bulk this Cresselia has. It will be able to take a Sludge Bomb. I think wdage knows probably would need 2 attacks anyway, but guess what? 2 attacks are essentially loaded. This Grass Knot is coming through. No Protect Shields left on wdage's side, but this is not enough to knock out a Clodsire.
No, of course. course not. Grassnot just going to chip it down a little bit. Meanwhile, Clodsire can probably strike an Earthquake and pick up a KO, but the catch and the swap with Dodge playing out of his mind. He's going to absorb a resisted Grassnot onto Chestnut.
Chestnut is going to be able to take this no problem, not very effective, maintaining a little bit of energy advantage, but in comes a drop in, a pretty good answer to this. Superpower will go through, but there are 2 Protect Shields left on Elite side. Definitely going to use that first one up there because he knows that this is going to be Superpower that would put him down to the red. I think at this point he's going to gain a little bit more energy before now throwing the crutch. Maybe, no, going for the Aqua Tail. I like this play a lot because not a lot of health left and the attack has already fallen on the Chestnut.
The good news for Elite is that he does have the Protect Shield advantage. The bad news is that he desperately hopes there's a Cresselia in the back for wdage, but there isn't. It's a Shadow Alolan Sand Slash. Earthquake coming through. Is it a bait? Is it not? Elite's able to call it.
Wow, last second shield there. I think all of our hearts were racing because if he was not able to call that bait, it would have been lights out for that drop down. Going for yet another catch after catch after catch. wdage is really locked in here, fighting his hardest to be able to stay in this, but this drop in has so much energy, and now the Cresselia looks like it might be, not every day would you see a Cresselia swap into an Alolan Sand Slash. I think we might see it here, Will.
We might actually see it, and this Drapian's got so much work to do. Elite needs to be so careful with his energy, overcharging every chance that he gets. Now down into the red. Shadow Alolan Sand Slash loses the charge attack priority tie. Drapian might just keep wdage at bay.
It looks like this will be enough to put the Alolan Sand Slash back into its ball. In comes the Clodsire here, but guess what? The Clodsire is 1 away from an Earthquake, and he throws it at the exact same time. But once again, charge attack priority.
I think this is a rare miscount by wdage. He had the Earthquake ready to go, but the Aqua Tail is super effective. It KOs the Clodsire, and Elite is able to win a game after losing 4 in a row.
This is an incredible stop to an incredible momentum swing for wdage. Elite has managed to snatch back a little bit of that energy into his own pocket, saying, no, wait a minute. I got on the winner's side of the bracket. I think I need to start winning again.
Yeah, right. I think Elite desperately needed that victory. If he went down 0-2, it might have just drained all his willpower out off the stage as well. But having that Game 2 victory now ties up the series. He's back into it. Question for him is, can he replicate that success? Because wdage has just been a wrecking ball on stage here in Baltimore.
And at this point, these trainers, that means that if I'm already just counting. Okay, they're at game number 13 against each other in Baltimore alone.
Wow.
Well, actually 12, because I think the first in the winners finals, they only went through 4 games. But even still, these are best of 5 matchups. They've been training against them the whole time here. We have a Shadow Machamp against the best lead for it here.
Wow, Shadow Machamp actually finds a target it really wants. We see the counter swap into Clodsire, met by the Shadow Feraligatr. This is the 3rd time in a row we've seen the counter swap Clodsire and the Feraligatr come out to meet it. And we've seen, even though it has a type disadvantage, even though it takes super effective damage, that Clodsire can hang in there against the Shadow Feraligatr.
Not only that, being able to pace a little bit quicker with the Sludge Bombs, going for the heavier hitting Earthquake, this will do a nice chunk of damage. We've seen it happen before. Elite doesn't want to get this Feraligatr out of here, saying, I have too much energy on this, don't want to let it go to waste. You see wdage kind of shaking his head, wasn't expecting the shield right away, going for another charge attack priority. I know I keep saying it, everyone, but this is how minuscule of moments that it comes down to here.
And you can see wdage, right? He throws his head back. He says, I wish you would just lose count. Just one time. Do me a favor and lose count. But Elite does not lose track of where he is in energy. Going to fire up another Hydro Cannon into the Dunsparce. This is looking pretty good for Elite, but he's still at a shield deficit.
Yeah, especially you say, I'm not going to lose track with his MVPs, most valuable Pokemon of that Feraligatr that he's just been putting on a masterclass with this whole weekend. Content to let it go as it has basically done its job, knocking out his Clodsire, getting that Dunsparce super low. He wants to be able to have a little bit of farm with the Machamp, and now we see Cresselia on Cresselia here, and 2 shields on wdage's side, but the back lineups are heavily in favor of Elite.
This is like walking on pins and needles. We've got a Cresselia mirror matchup, 2 Protect Shields for wdage, only 1 for Elite. A Moonblast attack fall could flip this entire series, but I think that Elite is still working from behind. He's got less HP, he's got a less positive type matchup, and he's got to figure out a way to get back into this game.
The Grass Knot will connect, going for the Grass Knot instead of the Moonblast. There's no way that they'll be able to get a debuff, but he wants to be able to throw, because as you've seen later on in the matchups, it does take multiple attacks to be able to knock out the Cresselia. Not only that, I think he's trying to get the switch timer down a little bit, but if you look at the switch timers of both of these trainers, they're pretty much aligned at this point. They've both been swapping so quickly into each other, say, you swap, I swap for sure. And at this point, both of their switch timers are up. both of them content to keep the Cresselias around.
Yeah, again, wdage just trying to keep Elite at arm's length. At least Cresselia will win that charge attack priority tie against the opposing Cresselia, but it's slightly lower in terms of health, which makes it a tough situation. wdage finally forced to use a Protect Shield, but if you're Elite, you can't bring in the Machamp. You just have to stay here and make the best of the situation.
Yeah, going for the Moonblast, a little bit heavier hitting, and also he knows that it has a potential to debuff the Pokemon. Elite doesn't want to use his shields here because Machamp is not very great without a shield. Going in, and wow, a very quick swap by Elite, but this drill run will do a lot of damage. At this point, he's going to have a very, very low Machamp and a very low health Cresselia. How is he going to manage this energy? He's going to be able to completely karate chop down before the Dunsparce be able to get to another attack and throw at the Cresselia. Only one shield on both sides.
Yeah, waiting for a mistake. He's going to capitalize. Here comes Elite. He fires his Stone Edge. wdage lets it through. Is this going to be enough?
This is going to be able to connect. We've seen this Shadow Machamp. Stone Edge is not quite enough. It is able to karate chop down, however. Game number 2 going to Elite here. 2-1. He just needs one more to be able to win, but we've seen wdage pull himself out of worse in the grand finals just a couple minutes earlier.
Amanda, I can't believe the way you said that. He just needs one more. It feels like it's almost impossible to take a game from wdage. I don't say he just needs one more. He absolutely has to do everything he can to get one more. And meanwhile, wdage has to win the next 2 games in order to win the Baltimore Regional Championship. I'm telling you, this has been a long series. It's been back and forth, but it's been a treasure to watch.
Yeah, both of these trainers have played each other many times. They are friends, they are teammates, and they are ready to go. And it looks like you saw the look on wdage's face, not happy how this is going to be able to turn out. Instead of swapping to the Clodsire, which he had in the past, going for the Cresselia safe swap and met by his own Cresselia on the other side, I think this is a good indication to wdage that there's not that Shadow Drapion on the other side.
I mean, I don't want to call it too soon. This might be it, right? Elite is able to predict perfectly. No, he gets the attack drop. Just when things started to go right, they go horribly wrong. And now this Cresselia from Elite is going to be nerfed. It's not going to hit nearly as hard against wdage.
Yeah, being able to try to throw here, I think he's going for his own Moonblast attack debuff as potential to be able to say, okay, how can I get back into this mid-matchup game? wdage more than happy to throw another one saying, hey, I got lucky once. Maybe I can get lucky again, but it's really putting him in a good position in this actual matchup here. Moonblast coming through from Elite's side, and meanwhile, this Cresselia on wdage's is super healthy.
Yeah, I think that little Moonblast debuff is going to go a long way for wdage as he's able to slow down this Cresselia and make this mirror match a little less equal. He's going to go ahead and fire for another Moonblast. Here comes Elite trying to chip down the opposing Cresselia, but at this point, it looks like he might lose switch advantage.
We don't see so many Cresselias in this tournament. We do see them in the grand finals, however. Going for this Grass Knot, as we've talked about a couple times, it does take 2 at this range to be able to knock out, and he's already kind of done the damage that he needed to, saying, okay, well, all right. Not only did I debuff you, if you let this go down, I'm going to have that advantage that I wanted as well. And Elite is letting his Cresselia go.
Yeah, Elite decides not to continue to play for alignment. Instead, he goes for the energy advantage. Can he get the Shadow Claw down? Cresselia's almost got the Grass Knot. It gets there. This is going to force a massive shield. Elite can't believe it. He says, are you kidding me?
He goes ahead, deadpans the camera there and says, can you guys believe it? Able to get to this Grass Knot. Unbelievable. At least he comes out with a ton of energy to throw at this Dunsparce coming in. But I think if you're wdage, you're saying, okay, this is more than fine with me. I already know Dunsparce is not very capable against that Shadow Machamp. I'll go ahead and just get a lot of energy. Actually getting a Protect Shield here, which is a pretty impressive overall because I think he wants to be able to throw back at the Machamp.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He only has 1 Protect Shield in his court, though. Elite spends it on the drill run from the Dunsparce. He's probably hoping for a Shadow and Sand Slash in the back, but it's not. We're going to see another charge attack come here from the Shadow for Alligator, trying to chip down this Dunsparce, but having lost switch advantage is a massive blow, and if Elite sends in that Shadow Machamp, it's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, no matter what, the Shadow Machamp has nowhere to go, and I think maybe Elite recognizes as well. No Protect Shield remaining. It's going to have to take a drill run. I don't even think it's going to be able to get a karate chop in. In the meantime, in comes Clodsire, and guess what? He brought his tie-in briefcase because he means means business.
Yeah, this is so oppressive for the Shadow Machamp. A lot of trainers need fighting type coverage on their team, but they ask, why not bring Machamp? This is the reason. Clodsire is such a force, such a wall. It's like walking through mud. It's so tough to get past this Pokemon, and with Dodge absolutely devouring Shadow Machamp here, going for the Poison Sting down.
I like this play by Elite. He's just trying to do everything he can to get it as low as possible, but I think he sees the writing on the wall at this point. There's no projectiles remaining left, and even though the Feraligatr would need an attack to go through, the Earthquake is coming through. It's going to knock out the Feraligatr.
I'm telling you, that Moonblast debuff, as the Earthquake connects and KOs the Shadow Feraligatr, only thing I can think about is that Moonblast debuff in the Cresselia mirror matchup. Elite led Shadow Machamp into Dunsparce. Both trainers counter-swapped Cresselia. Elite was just a little bit ahead. If he would have been able to control switch advantage, he could have aligned his Machamp to that Dunsparce and then his Feraligatr to the Clodsire and given himself a real shot. But things just didn't turn out that way.
No, and because they didn't turn out that way, we are going into a decisive Game 5 in the Grand Finals reset. This is the bracket reset. Let's see, Elite coming in from the winner's side of the bracket, with Dodge taking it beforehand. Both of these trainers are locked in. We are getting ready to go. We are about to be ready to crown a Baltimore regional champion after this matchup.
This is the final game of the weekend, everybody. We've got Shadow Feraligatr versus Dunsparce on the right. Elite does have his Cresselia and Mandibuzz surprisingly in the back. Meanwhile, with Dodge with Cresselia and Clodsire.
Hydro Cannon coming through here. It is going to be those charge attacks that Dunsparce has to watch out for. And an early shield by Wdage here, recognizing maybe that the Dunsparce has some play and going ahead and throwing the drill run. But guess what? It is caught on one of those bulky Pokemon. Cresselia coming onto the field, and we'll see how Wdage wants to respond in kind.
Drill run connects. Cresselia takes a little bit of chip damage there. I think Wdage is going to gather some additional energy, but he can swap out whenever he feels necessary to do so, and he does go for the Cresselia. Now he's got a significant health advantage. I say a Moonblast's worth of damage on Elite's Cresselia.
Definitely. Not only that, he has a lot of charge attack, a lot of energy left on his Dunsparce to be able to throw at whatever comes in later, saving it for a rainy day. We'll have to see how they want to play it out. We've seen this so many times within these Grand Finals. These two Cresselias are just so bulky. Last game, Wdage was able to get a Moonblast debuff, which really turned the tides in his favor, but is not able to do so in this match.
Gonna fire off the Grass Knot here, but as these Cresselias duke it out, I can't help but stare at that Mandibuzz pick. Elite has not seen Shadow Lone Sandslash in several games. He has not seen a Zoom Roll. He brings in the Mandibuzz for this task to get rid of the Cresselia.
Cresselia is going to throw a Moonblast now. Because this is a dark and flying type Pokemon, it's going to do a nice chunk. It is super effective, but it is still in the green. Mandibuzz now being able to face off against the Clodsire. There is so much energy on all the trainers here, and the switch timers are misaligned. This is the game to watch. This is the decisive game. A lot of new tactics being deployed here. Dark Pulse coming into the Clodsire.
The important note here as well is that this is an Earthquake Sludge Bomb Clodsire, whereas the Stone Edge might be enough to almost KO the Mandibuzz here. It needs to throw 2 Sludge Bombs to get the knockout, and Mandibuzz just gonna hang around, fire off these Dark Pulses, and just try to rattle the Clodsire.
Yeah, I think Mandibuzz was maybe there for a potential Chestnut, but guess what? No Chestnut to be found in this Grand Finals matchup here. Dark Pulse coming through, the Sludge Bomb trying to catch on the Cresselia, and it looks like that was pretty successful here. Wdage is still okay with it, I think, even though it's not going to be enough to knock out the Cresselia. We still have so much energy on 2 different Pokemon.
I just can't emphasize enough. This is the 50-second switch time, everybody. This is the difference it makes and how fluid these games can be. Grass Knot is going to connect into the Clodsire. It can absorb 1. I don't think it can take a second one, though, and now Wdage is going to reach for his own Cresselia.
Cresselia is coming in, and the Grass Knot is going to be thrown here. You saw a little bit of a hesitation on a Elite side. They're wondering if he maybe should go for the Moonblast, but I think at this range he's wondering if he's able to be Psycho Cutted down, or if he'll be able to reach another Grass Knot should Wdage choose not to throw. Wdage recognizing this at the last second, doesn't want to take any more damage, throwing off a Grass Knot of his own. How do you keep energy counts at this point in time?
I know.
These trainers are insane.
I know, it's actually mental to watch. We're gonna see the Mandibuzz come in here, but as you notice, Elite still has both of his Protect Shields. He's gonna fire off the Aerial Ace here against the Cresselia. He's trying to set up his Feraligatr for success yet again.
These 2 trainers are dancing around, not able to get to an attack. This is big. The Cresselia goes down. There are 2 Pokemon in the back, but Dunsparce is coming back in. It has so much energy on his side, but Elite has 2 shields left.
Yeah, he's got 2 shields left. Gonna use the first one here, though, on the drone from the Dunsparce. The question is, will that Clodsire come out? Will it be a catch? Will it threaten with a charge attack? The Dunsparce is gonna continue to apply pressure in the meantime, though, so Elite doesn't have time to think. He's gonna have to use a protection. He doesn't! He doesn't shield! Now this Feraligatr is very weak.
The Feraligatr is so low, and it has to have the charge attack skill through to be able to knock out this Dunsparce. It cannot rely on the Shadow Claw damage. Rollout also got a buff, so it's going to be doing more damage on the Dunsparce on the fast attacks. The Hydro Cannon is loaded, but will this be enough to knock out the Dunsparce? No Protect Shields remaining on it.
Hydro Cannon connects into the Dunsparce. This is a Shadow Feraligatr. Dunsparce hangs on. Mandibuzz is in the back. It comes out. It flaps its wings, but here comes the Rock Slide from the Dunsparce.
There is the last Protect Shield, and it is being used on the Mandibuzz, but it is Mandibuzz against the Clodsire in the back. That is already loaded with a Sludge Bomb. Though the Stone Edge would have done it before, 2 Sludge Bombs is enough to take it. wdage coming in, Sludge Bombing the Mandibuzz. He is your Baltimore Regional Champion.
wdage fights tooth and nail through 10 games in the grand finals from the loser side bracket to take down Elite in Baltimore. There's never been a more impressive slog through that bracket that I've seen in a regional competition like this. wdage absolutely back.